So let us take a moment of silence before we begin the page 10 today. So I think we last were here, page number 10, and we have to today start with a new passage. What is one to do to prepare oneself for the yoga? So let's start without any delay. And I would request if anyone would maybe mm, maybe read this much, the first half. Yeah, would anyone like to read?
I can do it.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Mother, to be conscious, first of all, we are conscious. Oh, sorry. To be conscious, first of all, we are conscious of only an insignificant portion of our being. For the most part, we are unconscious. It is this unconsciousness that keeps us down to our unregenerated nature and prevents change and transformation in it. It is through unconsciousness that the undivine forces enter into us and make us their slave. You are to be conscious of yourself. You must awake to your nature and movements. You must know why and how you do things or feel or think them. You must understand your motives and impulses, the forces, hidden and apparent, that move you. In fact, you must, as it were, take to pieces the entire machinery of your being.
Yeah, thank you, Jan. So I think this is again very important for us to keep reminding. So the question is, what is one to do to prepare oneself for the yoga? And by yoga here, what is meant in one way, we can say that each part of our being, the thoughts, the feelings, the body, each part of our being turns fully to the divine and unites with the divine. So this union is called as the yoga. And when we talk about integral yoga, then we mean that each part of our being uh, unites with the divine consciousness. Give me a moment, please. I'm so sorry. So, yeah, I think to be conscious, the first sentence says it all, that we are doing so many things in our day to day lives, and we are totally not conscious of what we do, why we do the things we do, why I just spoke the word I spoke, why I always react in the way I do. And we never question also. So these patterns just keep on continuing forever in the state of unconsciousness. So I think what mother says, to be conscious first of all. So if we want to prepare for the yoga, that if one is ready, okay, I would want to walk this path consciously, want to collaborate with the divine, then Mother says to be conscious first of all. And then she says that we are only conscious of a insignificant portion of our being. So if we look at our day-to-day life, we will see that as if it's like half sleep, half wake state that we are living in mostly. Most of us are dreaming all the time, virtually all of us are just in our thoughts all the time. And that has not been called a waking state by the masters, when we are just lost in the forest of thought. And we become only conscious in very few opportune moments during the day, and rest everything is as if running in a mechanical routine for most large part of us. So for the most part we are unconscious, and it is this unconsciousness that keeps us down to our unregenerated nature and prevents change and transformation in it. So long as things remain dark, so long as things remain mechanical, and I don't become conscious of them, I also then cannot turn them to the divine. It's almost one example, and then we'll break for reflections. Imagine that somebody asks me, okay, give me the shoe that is in your pocket. And I'm wondering, but I don't have a shoe. And where is my pocket? I don't even have a pocket. Now, if I look at myself and I thoroughly check myself, maybe I discover that I do have a pocket and I do have a shoe in the pocket. Now I can take out the shoe and I can offer the shoe to whoever was demanding it. So if I don't become conscious of each part and piece within me, how can I offer or turn them to the divine? That's the question. So first, by all these incidences that happen in our life, for example, somebody says, "Oh, you are so angry," and suddenly I realize, "Oh, I didn't know that I was angry." And then when I become conscious of the anger, then if I don't want to follow the dictate, I can turn it to the divine. I can offer it to the divine, saying that, "Mother, you take care of it. I don't want to follow the anger." So I think each experience in life then can become a moment for me to wake up to these little pieces of me of which I'm unconscious of. I'm not conscious of them. Somebody says, just look at the way you walk. Now it may just hurt me, in the beginning, that what is wrong with my walking. But when I look at it, then I would see, oh, really there is some problem with my gait. I must walk maybe a bit more consciously. So, and then offer even the walk to the divine, the gate to the divine. Yeah, so more reflections on these first few lines. Yeah, anyone?
Yeah, so I was just reflecting and I felt that, yeah, to be conscious is first step, but like you said, to offer it to divine is what makes a difference because uh, I notice in me that while I'm conscious, yet being conscious, I give in to my tendencies. It's not that I'm unconsciously giving in. That was a different stage कि पता ही नहीं क्या कर रहे हैं. अब पता है, I'm conscious and yet sometimes I choose to give in to my tendencies. So that is where the work is now. It's not that I'm unconsciously doing. I'm conscious and yet the tendencies are so strong that I yet choose to, like still pata hai, but like हाँ चलो इस बार खा लेते हैं और दो बिस्किट खा लेते हैं like तो ये consciously कर रही हूँ ऐसे नहीं है कि पता नहीं है so I think offering it and seeking help that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So even when we see that we may be conscious of the movement and yet we are following the dictates and it's not a healthy movement that I'm following, then parallelly continuing to offer it and showing it to the divine. Yes. Yeah, Yuan, you wanted to share something?
Uh, no, yes, I agree with what you said. I think even working as a therapist and doing psychotherapy myself, I am aware that like what you said, sometimes we don't even know what we feel. We think we tell ourselves a story about what we feel and things, and we are not really in touch with many aspects of ourselves. So, so that surely must be the first step. And as Daru said, the other one is be willing to offer that, because we also have attachments to our way of doing things, even when we feel it's not the right thing. There are like many steps or many layers on this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's so, as Mother says, it's such a heterogeneous mixture that we have in the being. And that's what she says, that we have to organize it around the psychic center so that it becomes a homogeneous mixture. And this reminds me of another anecdote by the Mother, which I'll maybe share after we have more reflections. Yeah. Yeah, anyone else? Anything at these three, four lines that we studied? Okay, so I'm going to just bring something here which I came across a day before, and I thought it was really very nice, be resonating with what we have just read. This one. So yes, I think here what resonated with me was how Mother talks about first recognizing in us that yes, I am such a heterogeneous mixture, and I don't have to remain that way forever. So I would just read it out, and then we can share our resonances or reflections on that. So a sadhak questioner asked, you say that it is necessary to establish homogeneity in our being. So homogeneity is like there is a consistency, like we have a mixture that we are making, a mixture for a cake or maybe a smoothie. And then we see that there are different type of mixtures that can be prepared. A smoothie is more homogeneous, it's like throughout it's one consistency, while when we are beginning to prepare the cake and it's not yet fully blended, we see that it's not yet homogeneous. There are bits and pieces and lumps. So that's a heterogeneous mixture, particles here and there. So then Mother says, don't you know what a homogeneous thing is? Made up of all similar parts. That means the whole being must be under the same influence, same consciousness, same tendency, same will. And this reminds me that many a times we see that sometimes a thought comes, overwhelms us, and we are just carried away by that thought for as long as one may want. Then a feeling arises, and then that feeling overrules us, and then we are carried by that feeling for as long as days, lifetimes, hours, depending on where we are. And then maybe a sense perception in the body comes, and we are overwhelmed by that sense of, I don't know, touch, feel, smell, whatever. And again, that carries us, sways us for as long as it's willing. Now, as if I remember Dr. Anand Reddy using this example, that imagine that your being is a palace and there are ministers, but the prime minister or the president, the sovereign ruler, is missing. So the mental minister, the thought minister, rules when he wants to rule. The feeling minister rules when he wants to rule. And the body minister rules when he wants to rule. So there is no centralized governance going on, if you understand what I mean, right? And that's why we suffer so much, because one blow here, gone. The other blow comes, gone. So there is no consistency in our being. And then Mother says that with homogeneity, what we mean is that the whole being must be under one influence, the same influence. Now I can take this example here, which comes to me, that imagine that when mother is there in this physical presence in the ashram, there, whoever is there in the ashram wants to do the sadhana sincerely. For him, mother's word or Sri Aurobindo's word is the final word. So they follow with devotion, with sincerity, they follow their word. But when their physical presence is gone, then suddenly a chaos appears, which many people also saw it happening, whether it was in Auroville ashram or wherever. That when mother's physical presence is not there, although mothers Sri Aurobindo are saying that we are still here, but we also need to be receptive and porous to experience their guidance and presence, which we are not, which most of the times we are in ignorance. So like each minister is ruling their own part, and there is no central governance, so there is more chaos. So what happens in our being also is this chaos that rules us. So mother says that that means the whole being must be under the same influence, same consciousness, same tendency, same will. We are formed of all kinds of different pieces, and they become active one after another. Sometimes a thought may be active, past may be active, myself from the past may be active, then myself from worrying about future may be active, my daughter part may be active, then my wife part may be active. So other different parts become active in different time frames. According to the part that is active, one is quite another person. And we all would agree with this uh, almost kind of a multiple personality disorder that happens in us, that according to the part that is active, one is quite another person, becomes almost another personality. So when we are full of this bhav of devotion and bhakti towards the mother, wow, you have a different feeling altogether. And suddenly that's all gone, and you are just under the influence of an intense emotion. For instance, one had an aspiration at first, felt that everything existed only for the divine. And then something happens. Somebody comes along, one has to do something, and everything just disappears. One tries to recall that experience, that experience of oneness with the divine, devotion with the divine that one had. One tries to recall that experience. Not even the memory of that experience remains. One is completely under another influence. One wonders how this could have happened. And there are examples of double, triple, quadruple personalities, altogether unconscious of themselves. So there is no single consciousness which is able to consciously see that just now I was this another person and now I am this. So there is no central anchoring here. So mother says that there are examples of multiple personalities where each personality is very disconnected from the other. But mother says, I'm not talking about this. It's not about this that I'm speaking. I'm speaking about something which has happened to all of you. You have had an experience, and for some time you have felt or understood that this experience was the only thing that was important. For example, experiencing mother's presence very strongly, very intensely, feeling that you are just united in your being, at least for a moment. We all had such experiences that had an absolute value, and half an hour later, if you try to recall it, it is like a smoke that vanishes. Suddenly all that intensity is just disappeared, and some other influence in life has appeared. The experience has disappeared, and yet half an hour ago it was there, so powerful. It is because one is made of all kinds of different things. The body is like a bag with pebbles and pearls all mixed up, and it is only the bag which keeps all that together, the bag of the body. So the physical consciousness, the physical ego is what keeps it all together, the pebbles and the pearls and all that. This is not a homogeneous, uniform consciousness, but a heterogeneous one. So this is how we are at the moment. This physical bag that we have, that is what is keeping me all together. Otherwise, this is just all like random pieces which are, which have come together in me. So that's the usual state of our existence. What Mother says, ordinary human consciousness, which is full of misery and moments of glimpses of joy and happiness, and then sorrow again. After pleasure comes pain. Why? Because it's a heterogeneous mixture. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? So I'm going directly to the remedy, because I feel it's very important to just touch upon the remedy and just not, where we are right now, which is a mostly the sad condition. So just to console us, there is a remedy. Mother says there is but one remedy. That signpost must always be there. A mirror well placed in one's feelings, impulses, all one's sensations. One sees them in this mirror. So Mother, at other times also, Mother shares this, that in this light of consciousness, you pick out this thought and you look at this thought, and you say, is this going to benefit me? Maybe a disturbing emotion or any emotion that arises. Before following that emotion, the dictate of that emotion, before following the thought, the storyline in the head, is this going to benefit me? Is this a pure one? So Mother says that in this mirror, the light of consciousness, which is the mirror, let everything pass through that mirror. So one sees them in this mirror. So now you are not rushing by life in a hurry. You have time to look at, most of the times you are looking at your thoughts, inner ripples, movements from the past, from the future, present moment, commentary going on. All that is going through your light of consciousness, like passing through in front of this mirror. And then Mother says, there are some which are not very beautiful or pleasant to look at. We all would resonate with that. Then there are others which are beautiful and pleasant and must be kept. This one does 100 times a day if necessary. And it is very interesting. One draws a kind of a big circle around the psychic mirror and arranges all the elements around it. If there is something that is not all right, it casts a sort of gray shadow upon the mirror. And this also can be sensed by an unease in me when I look at that thought, when I look at that inner movement, which I may have followed. And in retrospect, I analyze it or look at it. I immediately would see that it would cast a shadow. It's not a pure movement. There was something there which I followed, I must not have followed, right? So it casts a gray shadow upon the mirror. This element must be shifted, organized. It must be spoken to, made to understand. One must come out of that darkness. And if you do that, you never get bored. So imagine that throughout the day, whether you are waiting in a queue or waiting, driving in the car, and instead of randomly thinking about and getting lost in the thought and storylines, we can actually look at the thoughts and become conscious of the thoughts and arrange them and sort them and keep rejecting the ones which are casting a gray shadow. Yeah, so again, this is a very long thing. I won't go into further detail, but yeah, just wanted to share a bit of it, and I can share the whole link, and we can go through it later at our own silences also. So anything here, anyone? So I think one thing which comes to me is a want, a willingness that now I want to organize and sort my life. Because otherwise, why would I put so much of effort? Because it requires effort to become conscious of my thoughts, of my feelings. It requires effort. Otherwise, if life is okay, I'm not suffering that much, it's okay, I'm fine with the dullness that is going on, why would I care? That's why in mother's yoga, aspiration comes first, because there has to be a willingness to have a different life. Without that, even the divine won't be able to move me from my inertia. Yeah, anything here? Okay, so I'm assuming there's nothing at the moment. Please keep sharing at any moment of time. So, to be conscious, and mother says it's the unconsciousness that keeps us down to our unregenerate nature. Now, what is this nature? This is the nature that is evolving through eons of the natural evolution, and we have come from animals. So there are many animal lower instincts in us, which as a human being I need not carry. I, as Sri Aurobindo says, that from an animal man I have to first become a man, and then only we can go through towards a divine man. If I keep following my animal instincts and don't even question them and tell myself that this is how I am supposed to live, then there is no possibility. So to become conscious of the animal parts in me, the instincts in me that I say that these are natural for me to follow, that's what we say, that, oh, but it is so natural. It's so natural to reproduce, it's so natural to be jealous, it's so natural to follow, say for example, ambition, desires. But when we look and become conscious of these parts, then we say, yeah, it may have been natural for us when we were animals and we were evolving, but right now, does the following of all these so-called natural instincts, is this benefiting me? Is that a skillful way of living, or is it making me suffer? So again, as mother was talking about organization, so only to keep that parts which are good, which are not rotten in me, and which are not creating more and more misery for me and others around me. And then we can slowly let go of these unregenerate parts, which constantly keep us pulling down. So it is through unconsciousness that the undivine forces enter into us and make us their slave. Many a times we may feel that, God knows, so much darkness is there. What kind of anti-divine forces I am under? But there, if we look closely, we will see that there must be many things which I have to become conscious of, and that's why it appears dark. It stays dark only so long as I don't shed light upon it. The moment there is even one single dot of light in a room which is dark, we can't call it a dark room anymore. There is light in the room, no matter how small little it is. So it's because of my unconsciousness that I continue to live in darkness and turmoil. The moment I slowly, gradually have this willingness to become conscious of whatever is life showing me through all the experiences of life, then I can't be slave to either my instincts or thoughts or feelings or experiences of life. I can't be slave. Slowly, in degrees, I will rise. And that's what mother talks about, that we have to become more master of ourselves. We can't live like slaves. So although India is free, again, we'll have a session tomorrow on maybe freedom. I'll post it soon. So what is true freedom? We say that India is free of British rule, but are we free of our thoughts? Are we free of our feelings? Are we master of our feelings? Are we master of our thoughts? Are we master of our bodies? We are not. We are still slaves of our tendencies, slaves of our thoughts and feelings. One comes and just takes us away. So no homogeneity, there is no king who is ruling. We are not yet samrat of our own selves. So it is through unconsciousness that the undivine forces enter into us. Undivine forces, you can refer it to like, forces of darkness, depression, forces of, uh, even Mother says that there is a huge world of desire. And as if you're picking these desires from that world of desires. Stop picking. Pick Mother. Because I don't pick Mother, so I keep on picking the desires. Something or the other I will pick. So when I become conscious of what I'm picking, then I don't have to always keep on picking whatever is harmful for me. So to be conscious, and you are to be conscious of yourself, you must awake to your nature and movements. You must know why and how you do things or feel or think them. Why do I feel this way every time this person says this to me? Why? Just questioning and then waiting for the answers to arrive. Why do I think like that all the time? If we notice the loops in which our thoughts go, why? You must understand your motives. Why did I just say that to that person? What did I mean? What was my intention? From which intention did I say those sentences or those words? So again, checking, becoming conscious of my motives. Impulses, forces, hidden and apparent, that move you. So we have to become each and every, like a light is blinking throughout the day, and whatever happens in this palace of the being, I become, it's like a camera that is on, and that camera is conscious of each and every movement that's happening in the being. In fact, you must, as it were, take to pieces the entire machinery of the being. So we may actually be a wonderful engineer and know how in a machine works and how to tune it, and what part when gets rusted, how to change it, how to correct it. But how sad that I don't know my own pieces. I may have gotten on sun, I may have sent probes on Jupiter, Moon, Pluto, but I don't even know the bits and pieces of this machinery which is making these probes. And then once you are conscious, it means that you, so what does it mean by being conscious? Is she sharing? Once you are conscious, it means that you can distinguish and sift things. You can see which are the forces that pull you down and which help you on. How simple is that? Again, taking that reference of a bag that I may have. So usually that bag is all heterogeneous, things are lying here and there. I don't even know what is lying where. No idea about that jumbled up bag. Now what I do is, as if I invert all the bag's contents on a table, and then I empty the pockets. And now I know, okay, now each pocket is empty, clean of dust and dirt. Now one by one, I look at all the contents that I've taken out on the table and I put it in the right pockets. Now, even when we do it physically, we all have bags and purses and wallets. We know how sorted and organized it feels. All of us have that feeling of sorting when we arrange either our almirah, cupboards, or our bags, which have remained jumbled up for maybe months now. When we sort and put everything in order, it gives us a feeling of, okay, things neat and clean. And that's what we have to do with our being each moment, each day of our lifetime. And things which are rotting, I may have kept a banana which I have not used in a couple of days. It's still lying in my bag. So now it's rotting. That banana is rotting. Now I don't need to keep that in the bag because it is smell. The bag with smell. And it will again rot the other things around in the bag. So to be aware what is rotting, where it is rotting, And do I keep the rotten stuff still in the bag, knowing consciously that now it is a rotten piece? Do I need to keep it? Is it benefiting me? So then mother says, how simple, sorted, organized. Once you are conscious, it means that you distinguish and sift things. You can see which are the forces that pull you down. Now, the moment jealousy arises in the being, anger arises in the being, that pulls me down. I lose my self center. So, the moment the anger now begins to arise and I see myself getting swayed by it, and becoming conscious of it, do I still give it more power, or do I give mother's name more power? What do I stay with? And then you just like dust, like you shake it off your shoulders. Anger. It is not important. Somebody insulted you. The moment you are going to go into victim game, blame game, immediately you become conscious of it arising. Dust it off. Not worth it. Haven't we done that enough? So again, as we dust our houses every day, every second day, we see that the dust arises and we have to clean it. All of us have our cleaning schedules. Just like that, for the being, we need to have our cleaning schedule. How would have I a cleaning schedule? When I begin to notice what is helping me, what is not needed in the being. Anger, jealousy, blame, storylines which are full of misery, are they needed in the being? Are they a skillful way of living? And immediately I say, no, I have done that enough. No more misery, no more crying on these little matters. Dusting it off every time it arises. Dust it off. Bring the mind to the body, to the breath. Stay with the mother. Simple. Keeping it very, very sorted, clean, pure. And whatever is helping me, keeping that. So mother's name helps me. I'm keeping that. That habit is a good habit for me right now. So as long as any habit benefits me, I'm going to keep that habit. But the moment it begins to rot and it even begins to harm me, I dust it off. So anything here, anyone? I think this was a very powerful line. Yeah, anything from you, Yuan?
Well, I was thinking, you know, I was thinking about many times when I wasn't sure about something, like I'm probably not uh, always in touch with that presence. No, I'm just wondering. Sometimes when I'm really not aware of the right thing to do, or yeah, just wondering. Maybe later I will have something to say.
Yes. Yes, Swapna.
Yeah, Monica, I had an example of something that seems to kind of fall into this, which I've been unpacking since. I actually used the Byron Katie technique, but for me, many times that technique allows, like for the psychic or something that's closer to the psychic answer to arise, and that was to look at the statement or the I need a real true friend. And I was doing it with a friend, both of us doing that technique. But essentially, it seemed like such a natural. It's like, of course, everyone, all of us want that, and somehow it's almost like, well, I deserve to even think I need a really good true friend somewhere nearby. I was thinking, not so somewhere on the planet. And I came to see, looking at that, how as soon as two parts to it. As soon as there's a need, and it's something that doesn't exist in my here and now, it's actually got a stressful piece to it. As soon as just that word is, I need this, even though it seems like that wouldn't be anything other than the truth. I need a real true friend, like, why not? Just like small children want their best friend, why not as an adult? And then just to see how much it distracts from being with the mother, how much it allows, while I'm believing it, to be so in this kind of longing and yearning, that it's just like for a food substance or for a drink or something. It's just the same thing. It's just longing for something that isn't right now, even if it comes in the shape of a friendship. And it also allows me to abdicate from being that to myself, just being a true friend to myself, being with the mother, therefore the mother can be with me as a companion. All of it was loaded in that, and so it's like, yeah, just both those, just being able to see, like, oh, every time a need comes in, actually it's pretty much on the negative side, or it's often got the vital tied to it. And this friendlessness, just to let go of it a little bit, and the spaciousness that comes, when it's like, who would I be without that thought, or letting go of that desire, leaving it to the mother, all of it, and then it's like, okay, I would just be, I would have much more spaciousness, and there's much more spaciousness for others and acceptance and all that, So yeah, I was looking at that as an example of one of these things that needs light shed upon.
Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. I think all of us can resonate with that. Yes, Joan, please go on.
No, I've said thank you.
No, as if, and just looking at our own cravings, this craving, and for you, it could be a craving for a friend, just like you said, a true friend. For another, it could be a craving for respect. For yet another, it could be a craving for power, dominance. And for yet another, it could be a craving for just like wealth, property, whatever, and maybe something related to our jobs. So what is very interesting to note is that we think that we are different, but all of us have one thing in common, which is this craving. Each one of us, and when I become conscious of my craving, I can actually empathize now with infinite number of beings on this planet. Everyone, each single one is craving for something or the other. How and the same misery that it creates for me, how much misery it creates for so many of us. So we are not alone. That's where we start. And if we look in Mother's Sri Aurobindo's words or some other mystics, we would see that that's the starting point. This craving, desiring, what you said, vital self, that's the beginning of our journey. Yes, we are that. Yes, I am sticky. Yes, I am all the time wanting myself, craving for something or the other. In one moment, it may be true friend. Yet in another moment, it actually can be something different. In that moment, now I am not craving for a true friend. Now something else I'm craving for. So knowing that, starting from here, yes, it's the starting point. Mother says we start as a desiring self, but where do we have to move? We have to move on and dig up our true individuality, the true soul. That's where the non-stickiness comes. So when I become conscious of this craving in me, and for each one of us, and thank you for sharing that example, because it resonates with each one of us. Each one of us is in these kind of shoes. We are all cravers. And the very task of human birth is to let go of this craving and further cravings within this lifetime. So to from sticky character to become a non-sticky character within this very lifetime. Because haven't we lived enough lifetimes being so sticky? So when will we do the true job that Mother asks us to do? You know, dig out your soul. And the soul is not sticky. It's the desiring self, it's the ego consciousness, which always is concerned about itself and is sticky. So to develop a healthy sense of ego in the meantime, you know, that if I'm craving for a true friend and it's making me uneasy. Right now, other true friends may not be available, but as you were sharing, can I be just intimately be closest companion to my own self right now and not abandoning myself in this situation? Again, breathing really helps going through the unease. So connecting with the physical body, unease of wanting and craving, where do I feel it in the body, and breathing through it. That's what we mean by being a companion to ourselves. Breathing through the unease when it is there in the body, and each feeling, each emotion has a counterpart in the body. So when there is a craving in my thought or feeling for a true friend, you actually can connect immediately to the body that you must be having different body sensations with this craving when it is there. So how do I meet my craving fully? How do I hold in mindfulness my craving? By breathing through it, staying in the body, keeping the mind in the body. Yes, I'm with you. Yes, you are craving, I'm with you. Nothing doing, there is nothing else to do. We are not trying to find solutions. We are just holding a friend's hand. I'm holding my own hand. Just like a crying child comes to you and he just wants to be soothed. Nothing else he is looking for. He just wants to be held. So I hold myself in mindfulness. I breathe through that physical discomfort of craving, grasping, wanting. Whatever is not there in this moment, I want that. So this brings a certain unease in the body. So to remain mindfully, you know, Thich Nhat Hanh really shares something very beautiful on this. He says that mindfulness, when we remained with mindful breathing in the body, owing to the unease generated by maybe wanting a true friend, then he says that mindfulness generates as if a enveloping energy. It's kind of embracing the lower vibration of craving. That's enough. So can we just be with whatever we are going through? Just that is enough. It sounds very simple and the mind can reject it immediately, but we just have to experiment with it in order to understand. Yes, Yuan? Okay. So yeah, generating this energy and embrace of mindfulness to undergo to go through anything at all that I'm feeling, where I now don't want to at least follow the dictate. So yes, there may be a thought which says I want this, and then the craving transfers to the body, to the feeling, to the front heart. It burns, you know, it's not easy. And then I say, okay, nothing doing, let me just hold its hand, breathing through, just not leaving the breath, just by, or not leaving the mother's name, breathing through it, taking mother's name for those of us who have belief, faith in the mother. And we will see that in a few hours or in a few minutes, that dark cloud that had come of craving, it just passes by. It passes by, and we didn't need to do anything. I'm just fine by myself.
Yeah.
Yes, Sham.
Yeah, just if I'm able to watch my thoughts on that, what do you call that, drift and puff of thoughts, and if I'm able to, with each in breath and out breath, if I'm able to say thanks, it just vanishes for a period of time. It may not be immediate, ma'am. If it may take minutes or maybe, yeah, but it works.
Yes, absolutely. So, exactly what Mother was sharing, whatever is benefiting, whatever is helpful, keeping that and removing the garbage continuously. And even in following the thoughts, we can actually exert some mastery, some control. The moment I see that a thought has come of a thought of craving, a thought of wanting, a thought of possessing, now again asking myself, do I need to follow it? And putting myself in a higher and loftier distraction, either clinging to mother's name or involving myself in some good reading or whatever, maybe a nature walk for those of us who like to be in nature, anything that occupies ourselves meaningfully. And knowing that these hallucinations will remain. I again and again remind myself of that example from the movie A Beautiful Mind, where this guy is having hallucinations and he's bothered by them. And then towards the end, he has mastered his hallucinations. So a professor asks him that, do you still see those people who you used to see in your hallucinations? And then he looks around and he sees those people sitting on the bench. And he says that, yes, I do see them, but I choose to ignore. So these thoughts and feelings of craving, wanting, desires, they are going to remain. The only thing that can happen is that they lose their grip over me because I choose to ignore them, and I now choose to be with something else which is more beneficial for me. Yeah, so that was helpful. Thank you, Swapna, for sharing your example. So again, I would just repeat and take an overlap when we complete the last passage. Once you are conscious, it means that you can distinguish and sift things, like sorting is happening. You can see which are the forces that pull you down and which help you on. So I see very clearly that whenever I become self-obsessive and think about me, it pulls me down. Not following that trail. Whenever the focus comes on me, my needs, my desires, my expectations, my storylines, it pulls me down. I see the energy change. Not going there, clinging to the mother's name, sticking to that, bringing the mind home with the breath. And when you know the right from the wrong, the true from the false, the divine from the undivine, you are to act strictly up to your knowledge. So now when I know the path, very clearly it is visible, this is casting a shadow, this is not casting a sad shadow, this is impure, this is pure, this pulls me down, this does not pull me down, very clearly, it's like very demarcated in front of you. When you know the right from the wrong, the true from the false, the divine from the undivine, now the task is you are to act strictly up to your knowledge, that is to say, resolutely reject one and accept the other. So aspiration, and then comes rejection. I aspire for a purity in my being, and then I reject the garbage from my being. The duality will present itself at every step. So this we see. Shweta was sharing her example, Yuan just shared, Swapna shared. We will, at each moment, we will encounter challenges, and they are important for us to encounter because they only tell me that whether my the process, the tool is working or not working. They only tell me. So the duality will present itself at every step, and at every step you will have to make your choice. How beautiful is this? Each moment is yoga. What do I choose? Do I choose wanting to make my desires right or wanting to make mother right? Simplicity right? Wanting a simple mind, light mind, or wanting an entangled, complicated, you know, difficult mind. What do I want? So the want comes first. Volition, the will comes first. The duality will present itself. So be sure, we can all be sure that challenges are going to come at each moment in our life. What do I choose? On that will depend the quality of my life or the quality of the day that was spent. And then Mother says, you will have to be patient and persistent. Patient also because at times we will slip. Knowingly, in consciousness, we can slip. The tendency is still ruling. That's okay. Be patient. Not to beat ourselves up. Be very kind, gentle to ourselves. So you will have to be patient and persistent. Persistent also. That not just giving up that, oh, because I could not do it the last 2 days, I can't do it further. So persistence is required, that no, I can dust off my pants, get up again, and again bring purity in my being. And vigilant. And Mother talks about a vigilance at other moment. She says not faltering even for a moment. And then now she says a sleepless vigilance. So how we have guards, security guards, and if the morning one is gone to sleep, we have a night one coming. So they keep on changing shifts. They do the duty in shifts. And there is no one moment when there is no guard there at the door or the reception or the main gate. Because if the guard is not there, any stranger can enter the premises and spoil what you have created. And this is very beautifully represented in Saint Kabir's couplets also. He says like, the deer of senses will come and spoil your purity, spoil your land, the farmland that you have created for yourself. So be on your guard, he says. Stay put at the fence. Which thought is entering? What am I entertaining? Is this benefiting me? How, even after 2 minutes I realize, plunging into that darkness, after 2 minutes I realize, no, I don't want to go there. Good time. Mother says never too early to start and never too late to begin. So whenever we become conscious, we can drop it right away. So sleepless vigilance. And Kabirji says that my vigilance is so important or powerful. In one of the couplets, he says that it's like as if I'm standing on a mountain peak. And on that mountain peak, my feet can slip anytime, any moment. And there I am awake and on guard. One slip and gone in the abyss. So sleepless vigilance. As the adepts say, you must always refuse to give any chance whatever to the undivine against the divine. So that is again, that is our highest possibility. We are not always there, we have to agree, but we can walk towards that. We don't have to remain in filth and dirt, knowing that this is possible for me. But do I want that purity in the being? I think that is also the question that I may ask myself. Because if I don't want it right now, I want some things else are more important in my life, then I won't be able to walk the path. So first comes the aspiration that yes, I want a purity in my being. I want myself to be controlled by this central minister or governor or the king, which follows only the divine will. I want purity in myself. Once that want is there, then things can happen, then I can reject whatever is against that want. So I think a beautiful passage about the basics of integral yoga, where Mother and Sri Aurobindo talk about aspiration, rejection, and then surrender. And if at the moment we don't want a purity in the being, that's also okay, because it's a free surrender. So I must run to whatever calls my attention. If that's more important, I must run to that. And run for as long as I feel that is important, because that also would serve a purpose. Yes. Yeah, any last comments, any reflections, anyone? Okay, Jayashri? Yeah.
Actually, I wanted to say thank you to you because I feel after started attending these sessions and the meditation, I'm feeling much better because I had this habit of overthinking and I still have. It's like always the conversation is going in my mind कि मैं जब ये बोलूंगी वो क्या बोलेंगे, that uh, it's like I'm talking in my mind. So I'm able to control that with the conscious thinking. And I also wanted to ask you if we have a daily meditation because when I sit alone and I do, too much of thoughts comes and goes. So if it is daily, it would be really great.
Yeah, Jayashri ji, feel free to develop your own practice daily.
Okay.
So because it would be nice to create your own discipline and not to have a complete dependency on anything. Right?
Okay,
So
sure.
I think, as Mother says, that if you want to depend upon anything, depend only on the divine. That's a good place to have the dependence. So if you feel meditation or centering your mind with the breath or Mother's name or anything is helping you, it's very good to find a time, a very disciplined time. For example, if you attend the Monday sessions and if you have time during that early hours every morning, so why not create your own everyday session 6:30 to 7? Why not? What stops me, right? So honor yourself, give yourself lots of respect and dignity, that let me honor my space and respect my discipline. Every day from 6:30 to 7, I would sit with myself and spend the time to tame the mind with the breath and have this time to myself. Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Because many a times it may be that morning times may not suit you every day, so you again change your discipline. Okay, Monday I'll do in the morning, Tuesday I'll do in the evening, although it's good to start in the morning with a centered mind. So if you can spend 5, and it doesn't need much time, you can see, it, if not 20 minutes, sit for 5 minutes. And 5 minutes many a times can be distributed throughout the day. So I would sit early morning 5 minutes, then I would sit maybe afternoon before lunch 5 minutes, and then in the evening before sleep 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, taming the mind on the breath. Even that. So Jetsunma Tenzing Palmo, she shares that don't do that. Okay, one day you sit for 1 hour and the 10 days then gone, no sitting. So even if you are sitting for 5 minutes, sit for that 5 minutes consistently, like at least for a month, and then change the pattern. So that consistency really helps. So please, I would request that if you feel that you are being benefited, create your own little consistency. It will really be very nice. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? All right. So thank you, everyone, and wishing everyone very happy practice. May we all be our bestest companions, no matter the other companions may keep on coming and going, which is the case most of the times. But let us remain close to ourselves and take good care of ourselves. Thank you. Thanks for being here.